Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another Captain Marvel video. This time around, I want to talk about the absolute desperation of Brie Larson supporters and Captain Marvel supporters in general. Now, I'm not talking about the people who are simply excited about the movie and want to go see it. That's fine, do what you want to do. I'm talking about the people who lose their damn minds in YouTube comments or on Twitter when anyone dares speak out against Brie Larson's nonsense comments, or if anyone identifies the dumpster fire of storytelling that the movie is shaping up to be. I haven't seen this level of desperation since the build-up to Batman v Superman. At that time, Man of Steel had already been ripped by critics. It was the absolute wrong treatment for the character of Superman, and the divided fan response and the lower-than-hoped-for box office reflected that. But Warner Brothers doubled down on Zack Snyder's grim vision for the hopeful DC universe, and greenlit Batman v Superman. And the Snyder fans went into battle mode. They were desperate to silence any negative buzz about the upcoming movie. Anyone who dared say a critical word about Zack Snyder's approach, the film reveals, or the trailer itself, faced bullying, harassment, and all manner of verbal assault to keep them quiet. And how did that work out for them? Batman v Superman went down in history as an epic failure of filmmaking in the public consciousness, topped only by Snyder's next attempt, the Justice League. It's not even a question or a topic of debate anymore. I see that same desperation now from Brie Larson Captain Marvel fans. I don't think the film will be the financial disappointment that Batman v Superman was. Like The Last Jedi, it's riding the goodwill of the films that came before it. But in a circumstance like Captain Marvel or The Last Jedi, an okay showing at the box office doesn't in any way speak to the merit of the film. I say these comments are desperate for a reason. One is the sheer number of them. A few people here and there will always want to argue or tell you you're wrong, but when they come out en masse, it begs the question, how much does stumbling upon opposing opinions have to bother someone for them to take the time to combat each and every one? My answer is that it bothers them to the point of insecurity regarding their own opinion. If you're excited about a film coming out soon, if you're certain and secure of its quality and success, then what do you care if dissenters write tweets or make videos critiquing it? The movie's still coming out. You'll still go see it. So why would you spend so much emotional energy in combating dissenters? Unless you're not really so certain or secure about the film's quality and or success. This insecurity reveals itself in several ways. Let's look at just a few of them here. The first is the age-old fallacy we've addressed many times before. You haven't even seen it. You have to pay to see the movie before you can criticize it. Okay, listen closely. I'll say this slowly. The film execs don't care about your opinion once they have your money. Your voice is your decision of whether or not to buy a ticket. Once you contribute to that box office number, you've already approved of the film, no matter what you think leaving the theater. There's something to be said, of course, for negative word of mouth and wide-reaching reviews after the fact, but your average filmgoer isn't going to have that kind of effect, and a huge opening box office goes a long way to combat it in a film exec's eyes. I suspect many of the "you have to see it first" commenters know this. They're worried about the film's box office, so they want to bully you into buying a ticket, with the empty implied promise that they'll lend credence to your assessment after you've seen it. They won't, of course. Then you'll just be an angry incel who had already made up their mind before seeing the movie. And that brings us to the next tactic, the Ad Hominem Fallacy. These comments don't even bother with an attempt at logic. They launch right into the personal attacks. You're just another white guy afraid of change, you bleepity-bleep incel. And on and on and on. The thing about the Ad Hominem Fallacy, though, is that it makes you look weak. It feels good to unload your anger, but people see that you have nothing to say against your opponent's argument, so you just attack your opponent instead. It's a self-defeating tactic that betrays a real lack of self-awareness. A variation on this approach is a comment that appears to combat your argument, but with no logic or evidence, just the desperate declaration that your argument is filled with fallacies and shoddy thinking. I find these comments on my videos try to oddly bring me down a notch. You may sound so smart, they say, but you're just a blah blah blah. These commenters will also weirdly tout their credentials. They've been a fan of comics for 30-some years, or they'll be sure to mention that they went to this university, or were so smart they had to teach classes for their professor. And I'm not making this up. I don't tout my own credentials, but these commenters feel as though they must qualify theirs to make their opinions valid. It's bizarre. It shouldn't matter if I'm an actual professor or not. If you're right and I'm wrong, then you're right and I'm wrong. But the need to qualify themselves only betrays more insecurity. I've seen many more approaches, but I'll just cover one more. The dismissive approach. This one tries to brush aside your critique as not even worth the commenter's time. Though ironically, they've taken the time to comment that it's not worth their time. These replies usually begin with the dismissive word or phrase like, "I'm sorry, but," or "relax," or my personal favorite, "nah." And then they're followed by the quick assertion that they're right and you're wrong. The insecurity here is easy to spot. They don't want to have the argument. Like gorillas beating their chest, they try to intimidate you to end the fight before they might lose it. Enough with these videos, you're going to be sorry, and so on. These types of comments aren't exclusive to Captain Marvel, and they haven't been in hiding since Batman v Superman, but they only come out in force like this when there's a real concern. As much as Larson defenders try to brush away the plummeting box office projections, it is a big deal. Trolls aren't tanking the Rotten Tomatoes score. People are simply answering the website's question, do you want to see the film? Again, as a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, I don't think Captain Marvel is going to fail at the box office, though one never knows. If Solo, a Star Wars film, can lose money, then anything can happen. But Larson's persistent comments and the film's persistent marketing campaign are making people nervous, whether they admit it or not. When a film tries to sell itself on any merit other than its own as a well-made film, it raises red flags. The failure of Ghostbusters 2016 is still fresh in the public's memory, and its fans are still desperately trying to defend it despite the announced Ghostbusters 3, which signals that the feminist busters are a thing of the past. And films like The Suicide Squad show us that a decent box office is no guarantee the film won't be remembered as a dud. So the desperation of fan reaction to criticism before, during, and after a film's release is a pulse you can place your finger on. And taken with the marketing and film reveals, you can draw reasonable conclusions about a film's quality. And yes, that's true even before you've seen it! So that's all for this video. If you're new here and like the content, click like and subscribe, and tell these bullies you won't be silenced. And if you don't like the content, then leave me a comment below and prove my point. Either way, thanks for the view, and until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching. Do you like comics that are unafraid to portray women as feminine and men as masculine? Do you enjoy being entertained rather than preached to? If so, then you'll love my own graphic novel currently on Indiegogo. Tales from the Stacks is an anthology series in the vein of The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt. It contains 3 uncanny tales to thrill and haunt you long after reading. With interior art by Dave T. and variant covers by John Malin, Kyle Ritter, and Kyung Lee, you have lots of options to choose from. You can find the link in the description below or search Indiegogo for Tales from the Stacks, and tell the comic industry you don't have to settle for their social agenda platforming. Thanks. And last but not least, don't forget that your Professor Geek now has a merch store. Check out the current options from t-shirts to magnets to the iconic Professor Geek coffee mug, and let me know if you'd like to see something else. The link is in the description, or you can go to cafepress.com/ProfessorGeek.